Hello and welcome to another round of Championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage, and with me as always is Mr. Daniel Cody. Let's have a quick recap of the midweek fixtures. There were 8 of them, and there were 2 perfect scores overall and 2 perfect scores for Mr. Daniel Cody. He's very surprised because he didn't know what he predicted. His 2 perfect scores won the Sheffield United 1 QPR 0 and Reading's 2-1 victory against Stoke. No perfect scores for me. It was a pretty poor midweek. So Daniel Cody wins by 7 points to 3. Anyway, let's move on to this weekend's action, a massive weekend in the Championship. Let's start off with 2 teams in playoff and promotion hunt. It is Sheffield United versus Bournemouth at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United beat QPR 1-0, as I just said, and Bournemouth lost 2-0 away at West Brom.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this one. I'm glad it's on TV. It's a good pick. Bournemouth, look, we've said it a lot this season. We've taken the parallels to last year. Will they start to stutter? And at the moment, bar Fulham, it looks like nobody wants to get promoted, maybe bar Forest. And the start of the midweek, there's nothing else that needs to be said on Bournemouth's display. 18 shots, none on target. 2/3 of possession is exactly what we talked about last year when we got to the same stage. So different manager, same problems. And look, you can't give a team a 2-goal head start when they're barely scoring in West Brom. Sheffield United just had to win. An early goal, they clung on. They weren't vintage by any means. They had less of the ball, but at home, they're so solid under Heckingbottom. Despite the fact they've started to falter away, they've got back into those playoff places. And looking at the teams falling out of form behind them, I think they're going to stay there now. If Sheffield United win this one, it's going to be really interesting. And I think they're gonna. I don't see Bournemouth recovering. I'm going to go 2-0 because Sheffield United, they've only let in 13 goals at home all season.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sheffield United to win 2-1. Bournemouth are very poor. Obviously, not having a shot on target for West Brom, against West Brom, for God's sake. And everyone seems to score against West Brom is not good enough. Sheffield United, yeah, they just pick up points as usual. Probably wasn't a spectacular performance. Seemed to go a couple of players out. Billy Sharp's out. But they got the win. They've got the clean sheet. They can move on. Does make the playoff race interesting. Bournemouth have got an extremely hard running coming up to the end of the season. Obviously, still got to play Fulham, still got to play Nottingham Forest. They've got a very tough run in. So I'm going to go Sheffield United to win this one. Early kickoff. Long way to go from Bournemouth for a 12:45 kickoff. But yeah, tough game. 2-1 to Sheffield United. Right, next up, Lancashire Derby. Blackpool had one Lancashire Derby in midweek. They lost that one by a goal to 0 to Preston. Blackburn didn't play midweek. However, last game they played, they drew 2-2 with Coventry. Let's talk about Blackpool because they were obviously the last game. They would be disappointed they didn't turn up against Preston. Now they've got another derby. They've got to turn up in this one.
Yeah, and another side that on the road didn't have a shot on target in midweek, which sort of, I know we say that a lot in midweek games, but the goals have been drying up for Blackpool a little bit. They've only scored 1 in 3 of their last 5 and not scored in the other 2. Blackburn are just starting to score a few goals again, but again, sucker punch late on against Coventry. And they're now deciding big pressure because they were the ones that were there all season and they've dropped out. They're in 8th place. They've played the most games with a few of the top sides. I think it's going to be difficult now. I know that I think I'm going to go for a draw, but I don't know whether to go 0-0 or 1-1. Based on the form in front of goal recently, I'm going to go 0-0.
Yeah, Blackpool didn't turn up for me. Blackpool have to turn up this one. Blackburn have got pressure on. They need to get back into that playoffs. They dropped out for the playoffs for the first time since probably they lost to Fulham 7-0. I can't remember last time they were there. But yeah, the pressure is on them as well. It's just obviously to get back into it. Blackpool got nothing really much to play for. They're out. They're not going to go down. They're not going to get in the playoffs. But it's a derby. You've got to turn up in this derby. They didn't turn up midweek. They've got to turn up today. I'm going to go for a Blackpool win by 1-0. But can I just say, it's good to see Bradley Dack back and scoring as well. He scored last week, so very good to see him back. And obviously, hopefully, got Blackpool keeper as a speedy recovery because that looked nasty in midweek. So speedy recovery to Grimshaw. So I hope he comes back soon. Right, next up, Bristol City versus Peterborough at Ashton Gate. Bristol City didn't play in midweek, but they lost 3-2 to Bournemouth, and Peterborough drew 1-1 with Luton Town. You went to watch Peterborough v Luton Town. Let's get the Peterborough perspective.
Yeah, they were unfortunate not to win. Let's be brutally honest. I mean, I know you saw the game as well. James Shea made a string of very good saves. Peterborough missed a couple of sitters. They piled the pressure on after equalising. But it comes down to what we've mentioned all season. The teams that are down there are the ones that haven't got firepower. And I know they've got some good strikers on paper, but they're just not taking their chances. And if they had, it would have been a very different story. It's a good point in the context of the season, but is a point enough for them in the stage they're at now, given the Reading result as well? It's going to be a big ask to overturn 10 points in the space of 6 games. Bristol City aren't a great side. They ship goals for fun. We all got excited when they kept that clean sheet against Blackburn, but back to usual now, conceding 2, 2 and 3 in the last 3 games. I don't know what to go for in this game. For Peterborough, I feel it's last chance saloon. I feel they have to come out and be more aggressive like they were against Luton. And I think Bristol City's defence will crumble. This could easily be 4-1 to Bristol City. I'm just putting it out there. But on the balance of probabilities, I'm going to go for Peterborough to nick it by 2-1. And there will be defensive errors at both ends. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, there's bound to be defensive errors. Bristol, we said about Bournemouth last week. Obviously, took a good start, but they do ship goals. We've said this. Peterborough, I thought they were pretty good. Like in the game, Luton were pretty bad, but actually you've got to take your chances. They had 3 good chances in the first half. They had 3 or 4 good chances in the second half as well. Jay Jones missed from about 3 yards out, and then Johnson Clark-Harris hit the post right at the end of the game. These are the fine margins between League One and the Championship, and you've got to take those chances. So that's my criticism of Peterborough. But other than that, they were aggressive, they were good, grows in confidence. But is it too little, too late? 6 games to go, but it has happened before. Teams have survived with loads of points with 6 games to go. Do I think they'll stay up? No, I don't think they'll stay up. But if they it's encouraging. Those performances are encouraging. Now they've got to turn those draws into wins. But I'm going for a draw. So Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. Still on the fence there after praising Peterborough there. Right, next up, it's a Humberside derby. It is Middlesbrough versus Hull. Middlesbrough lost 1-0 to Fulham on Wednesday night. Hull didn't play midweek, but they lost 1-0 to Huddersfield. Middlesbrough, they battled, but got done by a piece of quality.
Yeah, there weren't many great chances in the game. Middlesbrough actually had more of the shots, but there were very few efforts on target. And let's be honest, no side other than Fulham in the division has Alexander Mitrovic. And when you've got a striker that scores a goal a game, you're often going to struggle if you give up a chance. Middlesbrough at home, aside from that, are very strong. 4th best record in the league. Only 2 points off Fulham's record, actually. And Hull, I watched the game against Huddersfield. It was hard to judge because Tom Eaves got a stupid red card just before half-time for a second yellow. And the game before that against Luton, they were decent, but they just get caught playing out from the back. Chris Wilder will set up to press them. I think it'll be a comprehensive home win. I'm going to go maybe 3. Yeah, 3-0 Middlesbrough. I think they'll get a late third.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Middlesbrough. I thought Hull battled hard against Huddersfield. Defensively, they were better. They just got it done by... I thought they only got it the first time, but obviously the free kick, the header and the save, and it went guy had a tap in afterwards. They didn't make themselves, as you said, Tommy's got sent off. It made it a lot harder for them to attack. And they did have that one excellent chance right at the end. And all he had to do was hit the target, and that's the equaliser, and he missed it from about 6 yards. So similar to the Peterborough, they missed that target from 6 yards and they should really have scored. Middlesbrough, yeah, they battled hard against Fulham. I didn't think they really looked like they were going to score. They did miss Isaiah Jones as well, so his pace on that right-hand side would have been ideal. But I'm going to think Middlesbrough will go back to winning ways. I'm going to go by 2-1. Right, next up, Millwall versus Barnsley. Millwall lost 1-0 at home to Swansea. Barnsley didn't play midweek, but their last game was a draw against Reading. These two teams ideally need results. Millwall a loss, a draw and a loss now. Not ideal for if you want to make the playoffs. Barnsley, they really needed that win against Reading and they couldn't hang on.
No, and obviously it was compounded in midweek by Reading winning again, which we'll get to in a bit. And it is now the situation where if Barnsley don't win this or the game in hand, or if Derby don't win at the weekend, and if Reading pick up anything, then I think it could be pretty much job done down at the bottom of the table. And Millwall on the other side of this, talk about teams that frustrate us in these predictions, because they were in the form of their lives, not conceding a goal, not losing a game against all the top teams, but in a great display against Luton last week. The games either side of it, lost to Stoke and Swansea, who had nothing to play for. And it's just always a case of nearly for Millwall. And it's so frustrating because they've got the key ingredients there. Off the ball, they work incredibly hard, but just too many little blips in the road. And they never really win games by more than a goal or two, which means they've never got a comfortable half an hour at the end of a match. In this one, I see Millwall bouncing back. I see Millwall winning. They need to if they're to have any chance of getting in the playoffs. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tense. It's going to be 1-0.
This is a tough one because Millwall were out of form. Barnsley, okay, to be fair. But, well, I say it's too little too late. Luton and Barnsley had that run a couple of years ago. I've gone 2-1 twice now. I think it's going to be 2-1 again to Millwall. Right, next up, Nottingham Forest versus Birmingham City Ground. Nottingham Forest beat Coventry by 2-0. Birmingham beat West Brom 1-0 last Sunday. Forest, I think we are going to guess and say that Forest will probably finish second. They are pretty much the second best team at the moment.
Yeah, and let's be fair, if the season started when Steve Cooper came in, they'd be challenging Fulham for the title, wouldn't they? They've only lost 4 games in that time. It's an absolutely ridiculous record from 30 matches. I can't express enough how good of a job Steve Cooper's doing. None of us expected it to be this big a turnaround, and they're my favourite team to watch in the Championship. For the fans, that means a full house. That means an incredible support at a brilliant stadium. And it shows, doesn't it? Because if you take out the Liverpool Cup tie, which they run them close, they're turning into a machine. They're bulldozing teams at the right stage of the season. And the crucial thing of the last 4 league games, they've all been by 2 goals or more. They've all been comfortable. Look, there's going to be a game where they slip up in this running, potentially, but you can't bank against them. I'm going 2-0 again because Birmingham hardly ever score, even more rarely score more than 1. But it was a good win against West Brom regardless for them. But Forest, definite favourites, 2-0, comfortable win.
I'm going to go 3-1 to Forest. Forest looks really strong. They look incredible right at the moment. I'm worried about next week's fixtures because we know who Forest have got next. Yeah, they're looking really good. And as you said, they put Premier League teams to the sword and very close to beating Liverpool. Yeah, that's really, really scary. And hopefully, if Luton do make the playoffs, Forest don't go in there as well because they are so strong. They're so much stronger than every team that's down there at the moment. Very, very strong. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Right, next up, Deepdale, Preston versus QPR. Both these teams had a 1-0 home victory. Preston were at home. They beat Blackpool. QPR were the away side at Sheffield United and lost 1-0.
Well, let's be fair. We thought we might be doing a manager special before this because there have been rumours and murmurings about Mark Warburton all week, which I've got to say I think is a little bit premature. I mean, let's be honest, where they've been in recent seasons, they are making progress. But they've come up against 3 of the top sides in the division in Fulham, Sheffield United and Forest. They've fallen short every time. The defeat against Peterborough was shocking. And they've just been in awful form. I saw the start in the week. No side has lost more games in the Championship since the start of February than QPR, which is a damning indictment of why they're falling down the table. Preston, look, that's the first time in a while they've turned up for one of those big derby games. They struggled earlier in the season against Blackpool. They got completely played off the park. And it was a strong performance. They restricted Blackpool at the other end. They got a good win. It's always Cameron Archer because they haven't got a plethora of goal scorers there. That's going to be their big turnaround for the summer. But they ended the 3-game run without scoring a goal. I can't see anything else other than Preston win again because QPR are in shocking form. They need a win. They're not going to get it. 1-0 Preston again. Low scoring this week. And if I'm right, Warburton probably gone on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going to get into the Warburton rumours that are appearing on social media. I do not agree with it.
No.
This close to the end of the season, let him see it out. If he fails, okay, then give him the chop. But I don't see him making the playoffs. I did say that with a weaker side that's in that group. Preston, good, very good. That one they won against Blackpool. Archer with a good strike. I really like that strike. Through the defender's legs drilled into the corner. I'm going to go 2-0 Preston because I can't see QPR scoring and they're probably the first goal scorers of the weekend. Right, next up, it's Reading versus Cardiff. Reading, how has Paul Ince found this form? I cannot believe he has found this form. And Cardiff, you don't lose a derby 4-0.
It's making it harder to predict, though, isn't it? Because, look, let's take it on face value. If you take that game out, both sides beat Stoke 2-1 in their last game. Both sides drew the game before that. Both sides beat sides dropping out of the playoff contention the week before that narrowly. They have got such parallel records in recent weeks until that derby. And it actually makes it harder for me because Cardiff now, surely, even with nothing to play for, they have to bounce back from that. There has to be a reaction. And Reading, I know we say about Paul Ince, and I don't know where it's come from. It was an even game against Stoke, but they crept over the line. But he has improved them defensively massively, and we have to give him credit for that. 3 goals conceded in 4 games. When you can give the fact that they've conceded 75 this season, that's no mean feat. So, yes, it can coincide with getting some players back from injury, getting them settled and match fit again, but we have to eat our hat on Paul Ince if he keeps them up and say, fair play, he's done the job on the short term. Be interesting to see if he gets it in the summer, though, if that's the case. I'm going to go for a draw because it's the safest bet I can go for here. And I don't think I've thrown out a Championship's favourite scoreline yet. So now's the time, 1-1.
I'm more annoyed at Cardiff losing because it's the first time Swansea have done a double over Cardiff in 100 and something nil just in their history. They got battered. They were atrocious, Cardiff. 2-1 Reading. I don't like that. But 2-1 Reading, they're on that form. They're still, obviously, you said they're conceding less, but I still want to see a clean sheet out of them. I know I got the clean sheet against Blackburn, but I want another clean sheet. They've got their gap now, 7, 8 points clear now. I think that might be enough for them to survive. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Reading. Right, next up, it is that team that Cardiff got trounced by. Swansea, they're at home to Derby. Swansea carried on that good form with a 1-0 victory away at Millwall. And Derby beat Preston by 1-0 last weekend.
I thought you were going to save your clean sheet talk for this because Swansea, Craig, 3 clean sheets in a row. 3 clean sheets in a row. It is miraculous, isn't it? I'm sure you'll be delighted with that more than anyone. Derby, we say the same again. Look, they won. Fair play to them. It was a feisty game against Preston. Max Bird with a industrious challenge, shall we call it. It wasn't a good one, but they got the late winner. And to be fair, if Wayne Rooney's achieved one thing this season, he's the first manager in a long time to get a consistent good level out of Ravel Morrison. And it's great to see because he's playing really well, popping up with some crucial goals. They have to win, though, because Reading are still picking up the points. I'm going to go for Derby to win because, look, Swansea, we've seen this season, 3 clean sheets. There's got to be an awful defensive display around the corner. And last time against Peterborough, they were a little complacent. They let in 2 goals. I know they nicked it in the end. I just sense there's a bad one coming, but fair play to them. They've been brilliant the last few weeks. But I'm going to go 1-0 to Derby because it is the most important game of the season for them. And obviously, they're edging closer to that takeover now. It could be a slightly more buoyant atmosphere come Monday at Derby County.
I'm going for a Derby win. I know I'm going to praise Swansea for their 3 clean sheets, and I'm delighted they listened to me by not playing about and about.
It was all you.
It was all me. Russell Martin listened to this podcast. He listened to these predictions, thinking, why did I keep going for a Swansea defeat? But no, they've been good. 3 straight clean sheets is very good. 2 straight, obviously the last 2 victories, very good. Away at Mill, very hard. Away at Cardiff, that's a tough test. 1-4-0. Derby, yes, they beat Preston by 1-0. It could be a good week considering, yes, they've got a preferred bidder now. Yes, there's some backstory to him and we won't get into those details, but we'll save that for another day. It could be a good week. Only a disappointing thing, they could still get relegated. So I'm going to go Derby to win by 2-1. Right, next up, it's West Brom versus Stoke at the Hawthorns. West Brom beat Bournemouth by 2-0, and it's another defeat for Stoke. They lost 2-1 at Reading.
Yeah, it was a strange game at the Hawthorns. Bournemouth, first 15 minutes through the game away. I mean, Steve Bruce, I don't know what he would have been thinking, seeing West Brom score twice in the first 12 minutes. He probably thought he was having a dream, but could they, Craig? Could they? 7 points away, 6 games to go. I don't think so either. I don't think so, but I tell you what, he's given them a chance. And it is, to be fair to them, it's only 1 defeat in 6 now, which was against Birmingham, probably the biggest one of the lot, ironically. Stoke, 2 clean sheets, 2 good home performances, looked like they were getting back to it. But they're poor on the road, and that is making me worry here. West Brom have got one of the best home records in the league. Say what you want about them. They're in the top 6 on home form. I think they're going to win. And I think then a few of the boys will panic a bit higher up the table. So I'm going to go for, I've got to go higher scoring at some point, haven't I? 2-1 West Brom.
I'm going to go higher scoring, so I'll go 2-1. I think West Brom will beat Stoke by 1-0. Considering the last 2 home games were Fulham and Bournemouth, and they got 6 points out of 6. So there's something there. He's got something going now at home. Stoke, on the other hand, have just been pretty crap. Despite the victory last week against Sheffield United, it wasn't a pretty game. They got the lucky with the break with the own goal, but then they're going to lose to Reading. So, yeah, it's been a terrible second half of the season for Stoke. I think they just need to get the end of the season and clear out some deadwood really there. But I think it's going to be another defeat. I'm going 1-0 to West Brom. Right, 2 games to go. This one's on Sunday. Fulham versus Coventry. Fulham beat Middlesbrough by 1-0, and Coventry lost 2-0 at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, it's gone wrong for Coventry at the wrong time, hasn't it? 4 games without a win. You'd probably say now at 8 points the gap, they're probably, for me, the top side that are now out of contention. So I can't see them winning at Fulham. Look, Fulham haven't actually played at home since the start of March. They played 5 away games in a row. They've still picked up better form than the rest of the teams up there. Let's be fair, they've won the title, haven't they? They're done. They're going to be picking up the trophy sooner rather than later. And I can't see anything other than a Fulham win here. They've not had, bar the Swansea game, which they were helped massively, they've not had one of those big thumpings for a while. I feel like this one could be quite a comfortable one because Coventry's away form has let them down recently. They have let in 29 goals on the road. They've not been great defensively there. So I'm going to go a bit bigger. I'm going to go 3-1 to Fulham. I think it's going to be a comfortable day at the office. And I think it's on the red button on Sunday afternoon as well.
I think it's going to be a 2-0 win for Fulham. They're looking good. Mitrovic for the goal. 38 now for the season now for Mitrovic. And we've still got 6, 7, 8 games left to go for Fulham. So, yeah, I think the title's done. I said it a while back. They don't really look like slipping up. You can't see them spectacularly falling. I know they had a run of draws back in December, but they're looking solid. 1-0 away from home, perfect scoreline, especially when you'll be up there in the table. So I think it'll be 2-0 to Fulham in this game. And the final game on Monday night football, it is Huddersfield versus Luton. It's 3rd versus 4th at the time of recording. Huddersfield didn't play midweek. They won 1-0 at Hull. Luton drew 1-0 with Peterborough on Tuesday night. You went to watch Peterborough v Luton, as I said earlier. Let's hear it from the Luton perspective this time.
Fortunate. I think that's the thing that's concerned me maybe with the last 2 games, this one and the Millwall one. Not so much the results, because when teams are scrapping for things, that can always happen. But the performances are the poorest we've seen in a while, and that is definitely a concern. Another couple of injuries picked up. Still not got enough players back defensively. There's alarm bells for me. And given the run in again, we mentioned with Luton when they played Hull, the last time they were playing against someone who had nothing to play for. And now we're starting to play against those. We're finding it difficult. Quick thanks to Sky for moving it to Monday night, for adding a 30 quid hotel bill to my away day.
But it was £10 a ticket, though. £10.
And well done to Huddersfield for that.
Excellent by Huddersfield.
Well done to Huddersfield for that. And well done to them for a very good, gritty away win at Hull. I know it took them a long time to break down the 10 men, but they deserved to win. They were really professional and they needed it because they were really starting to drop off the cliff. As it is, I still think it's going to be tight up in those playoff places. My gut's telling me that it's going to be a draw. So I'm going to go for a 3rd successive draw for Luton. I'm going to go for another Championship favourite scoreline to finish.
1-1. I had 1-1. I had 1-1 the whole time since before when we started this recording. I had 1-1 down. Luton were poor. A bit of quality for the goal. Obviously, mainly by Lansbury and Onyedinma. Obviously, Hilton scoring. It's always a Hilton masterclass. But they got away with it because Peterborough had the chances. And you kind of thought Luton could have hung on at 1-0, but once they got the equaliser, I thought, all right, just don't lose this game. And then it did look like they were going to lose again. They got fortunate from the header and hitting the post from Clark Harris. And it's like, oh, okay, let's just take the point now, which is for no disrespect to Peterborough, but it's a disappointing draw. But the performance wasn't good. However, the positive is it's still a point. We're getting in a point. Huddersfield, yeah, I was quite happy with that Huddersfield performance because, as I said, 1-0 away victories are always the best victories. I still haven't given a prediction here. You went 1-1. I'm going to go 2-2. 2-2. I think it could be an entertaining game. It is on Sky. But if Luton do win, happy days. And let's have a quick recap. What have we just predicted for this weekend's action in the Championship? I've gone very tight. A lot of 2-1s. Forest, the only team that's going to score more than 2. Yeah, and Daniel Cole, on the other hand, he's gone for 2 teams to score 3. That's Fulham and Middlesbrough. And those are predictions for this weekend's action in the Championship. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comments and give us your predictions. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football 3. And we'll see you next time.